Let's have a look at what's grabbing the headlines around the world. Lots of papers, of course, focusing on the US-Russia brokered ceasefire that took effect in Syria yesterday.
That's right. It's front page news across the world. Let's start by taking a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal today, which focuses on that ceasefire taking hold in war-weary Syria. Now, this ceasefire comes as Muslims are celebrating the Eid al-Adha, the sacrifice feast, as it's called. And part of the tradition is that lambs are sacrificed, and that'll help you understand the cartoon I pulled out of this is actually by a Lebanese cartoonist, Blaibel. You can see it here in Courrier International. And you can see this depicts how world leaders were very hesitant. Was there going to be a truce, no truce, truce? Up until the very last minute, it was uncertain whether or not this ceasefire was going to take place. And you can see the lamb that's about to be sacrificed there for that Al-Adha festival is Syria indeed.
And a lot of the papers inevitably just asking whether there's any chance that this could actually hold.
That's right. It certainly seems like a very fragile ceasefire. We've already been hearing reports from Syrian papers that there have been minor violations. I pulled out a cartoon. This is from Asharq al-Awsat, a pan-Arab paper based in London. And this depicts the very fragile situation. The gun here represents the Syrian regime, and that little stick that's stopping the trigger from being pulled is the truce. And you can see that little stick is already starting to break a little bit. That being said, some papers are quite confident that this ceasefire will hold. If we take a look at an article in The Independent by Patrick Coburn, he says that the chances of the truce turning into a long-term ceasefire are greater than before. Why is that? Well, it's because the U.S. and Russia are backing it, and they, after all, are the most powerful countries engaged in the Syrian war, and they have the power to make sure this ceasefire sticks. And if this truce does indeed hold for the week it's supposed to, well, it'll be quite hopeful for the future, because it means that the U.S. and Russia will have managed to keep an unprecedented military partnership.
Let's move on to another story getting a lot of attention. This is the Italian town of Amatrice suing the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. This is over some cartoons it published.
Oh, that's right. Amatrice, of course, the town that was devastated by that earthquake. Nearly 300 people died. Now, what is the cartoon? You can read about it in the Corriere della Sera, many other Italian papers as well. This is one of the two cartoons. You can get a closer look at it in a tweet as well. It's entitled Earthquake Italian Style. It's by the cartoonist Felix, and it portrays the victims of the earthquake as different types of pasta. You can see this journalist, Ciro Pellegrino, from Naples. He was outraged by this, and he said, I'd like to see all the Italians who said, Je suis Charlie. I'd like to see what they think about this.
And after the Italians responded angrily, Charlie Hebdo, known, of course, for its provocative cartoons, as what it's all about in a way, published a second one, didn't they?
That's right. Charlie Hebdo was very much Charlie Hebdo by publishing this cartoon. This is by the cartoonist Coco. Now, this shows a victim here saying, Italians, it's not Charlie Hebdo who built your homes, it's the mafia. Now, local authorities, these are the two cartoons, local authorities say they're both a macabre, senseless, and absurd insult to the victims, and so they're calling on this local prosecutor to investigate whether Charlie Hebdo did commit this crime of defamation, a crime which would give the town some civil damages in the wake of the earthquake.
Another hot topic in the press today, Democratic presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton, her health, a doctor saying she's got pneumonia. Clinton says she didn't think it was a big deal, but for a lot of papers, it is a big deal.
It is really a big deal if you take a look at the papers. I pulled out, first of all, two cartoons. You can read this one in Courrier International. It's by the Norwegian cartoonist Herb. You can see Clinton getting a checkup here, but it's not her heart rate, it's her pulse that are going down there. Now, The Independent also has a great cartoon where you can see Donald Trump, or rather his wig here, saying, we demand to see Hillary's health record. Now, you can see that Donald's health record isn't so great. Schizophrenia, egomania, megalomania. Now, jokes aside, there have been calls from across the political spectrum for both candidates to release their medical records. Take a look, first of all, at this editorial in the Wall Street Journal talking about honesty and presidential health. Nobody expects a president to be an Olympian, but the public is entitled to a review of the evidence. And for once, the Wall Street Journal agrees with the New York Times. This never happens, but you can see, and this is the editorial of the New York Times, also calling for a full disclosure. As President Obama's graying hair suggests, the American presidency is perhaps the most grueling and stressful political job there is. And this year, both major party candidates for the job are past the nation's customary retirement age. So perhaps they too should release their medical records. Now, a big question in the press today is Hillary Clinton, well, would she be fit to lead the United States were she elected president? This is a great article in The Guardian. I definitely recommend, saying that Hillary Clinton, she could take heart from former presidents and prime ministers who didn't let health problems hold them back. For instance, if you might have known this, but JFK had Addison's disease, François Mitterrand, former French president, had cancer, and Winston Churchill had depression, a heart attack, and a stroke, and that certainly didn't stop them from leading.
Very, very true. And we're all feeling great, even though we've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you, Flo and Stephen on France 24. More news in just a second. Stay with us.